Please, let this be the time. When you need to be sure, choose Clear Blue Digital Ultra Early with SmartGuard technology, a unique combination of features and over 99% accurate. Clear Blue, for results you can trust.
Hello, this is Crane Productions 27 here with a review of the newest Thomas & Friends 2015 special film, Sodor's Legend of the Lost Treasure. Now, first of all, warning, if you've not seen the special, if you haven't seen it, don't watch this video, because this contains spoilers and I don't want to spoil this for anyone. So if you haven't watched it, stop watching the video now. Last chance. Okay, well don't say I didn't warn you. Basically, I thought it was a wicked special. It was fantastic. I went and saw it a large number of times. I went and saw it about 9 times. And I'll tell you why I saw it 9 times. Basically, the story goes, Thomas is shunting coaches for Gordon, and then he gets called a silly little engine, and then Thomas decides to pull the express for Gordon today, or push it, whichever. He gets cheeky, but his cheekiness causes a problem. He nearly collides with Emily, and ends up running the coaches off the rails. The Fat Controller is cross, and sends Thomas to work on the new branch line. Thomas is hoping to learn not to be cheeky, and he's cross with Gordon. And this is where Ryan the tank engine comes in. The new tank engine takes over Thomas's branch line for just 1 day. Meanwhile, working on the new branch line, we get to see Marion working there, and for the first time ever, we get to see Rex, Bert and Mike on the show, and they provide ballast to help with the new line, and Donald and Douglas appear to help, Oliver and Toad, Duck, and while they're building the line, the track has had to be rerouted because of a broken, unsafe piece of line. Well, not the line, the surface underneath it is completely unsafe. When Thomas tries to prove he can be really useful, he doesn't notice the warning signs and he doesn't hear the workmen telling him to stop. He goes right past the danger barriers, the ground collapses beneath him, he falls in, and right to the bottom, and then, to his surprise, he finds an old ship there. Thomas is sent to the work to be repaired, and he's upset because he thinks the Fat Controller has got a new tank engine to take his place. But Kevin assures Thomas that it was an accident. Then Edward tells Thomas that Rocky found something at the bottom of the pit, or cabin, whichever you want to call it. And Thomas is cross when everyone, including Jack, Alfie and Oliver, the excavator, talk about what's going on there and what the ship was doing there. They think this could be a new adventure for them, and Marion even thinks it could be pirate treasure. Oh, talking to Marion, she thinks Rex, Bert and Mike are magical little engines, and she thinks Oliver, the Western engine, has made a wish and turned himself into an excavator. So she decides she thinks if Oliver's managed to do that, she can make a wish too, and decides to make a wish to find buried treasure. Throughout the rest of the film, Thomas tries to prove he can be really useful, but feels like the Fat Controller doesn't love him the same way he used to, and thinks Ryan is going to be taking his place. Now Ryan is trying to be a good friend to Thomas, so he tries to make friends with Thomas, but Thomas is not very happy with him. And then when Thomas notices a boat called Skiff, he then meets up with a character called Sailor John. Now Sailor John is looking for the ship, and he was looking for the treasure as well. So Thomas joins him and Skiff to search for the missing treasure. Then, when they fail to find it, Sailor John turns against Thomas because he thinks Thomas has beaten him to the treasure. Thomas is upset, but then when it turns out that Marion has already found it, Sailor John gets cross. And there's also a moment where Thomas has to save Ryan from exploding dynamite. So Thomas rescues Ryan from the dynamite just as it explodes, but he gets told off by the Fat Controller again. So later on, Thomas hears that the treasure is being kept safe in the Fat Controller's office, but worries it won't be safe there. And that's when Sailor John breaks in and steals it. So Thomas then goes on the chase to stop Sailor John from getting away with the treasure. He tries his best, but with help from Rex, Bert and Mike and Ryan, they manage to slow Sailor John down, but then Thomas comes to a halt when he ends up crashing into the water, and then the treasure is too much for Skiff to handle, so he refuses to follow orders from Sailor John, and then loses the treasure, and Sailor John is arrested by the police the following morning. The Fat Controller is pleased with Thomas for trying to stop Sailor John. He's sent to be completely repaired, he's been repainted, and he's back at work with Annie and Clarabelle again. Now, I honestly think that John Hassler provided a wonderful voice for Thomas the Tank Engine. And it's really sad that Ben Small is no longer doing the voices on the show, which means we'll never hear him providing new episodes for Toby, Rhaenyra, Owen, Flynn, and even Stanley and Charlie for the US version. Well, I just hope Ben Small enjoyed his time on Thomas, and I'm sure he did, and I wish him the best of luck for the future. Now, I thought the story had great storytelling, thanks to Mark Morgan, and there were also plots of the story that were amazing. Marion was absolutely a wonder to watch. Thanks to Olivia Colman's performance of her, she's thinking that Rex, Bert and Mike are magical engines and tries to make a wish to find treasure. But she is very easily fooled by this and doesn't even stop to think. And sort of gets on Oliver's nerves a bit. And I liked Marion's little jokes like, "Get what's in my shovel," and she even gets a surprise when she actually finds the treasure. Rex, Bert and Mike, brilliant. I love them. Tom Stoughton provides a wonderful role for Rex. Keith Wickham does wonderful as Bert. And Tim Whitnell, his voice for Mike really works. And I liked the way he says, "Real? Of course we're real." It sounded like he was being insulted. And I think Tim really does know how to voice Mike that well. And what really surprised me about all three of them was when they sang "Never Overlook a Little Engine." That is one of my favourite songs of the special, and I could not believe. I thought, wow, that's brilliant. And even I started to sing along to the song too later on when I went and saw it again and again and again. Then the other song I liked was "We Make It Team Together." I really did like it. But part of me is thinking there was two versions of the song. The first version is when Thomas is with Skip and Sailor John. The second version is when the branch line is opened and all the engines go running on it. Then I'm just wondering what happened to the first version. I'm sure it's still around somewhere. So then, now Skiff and Sailor John. Skiff is a lovely character. He's a joy to watch, and I like his voice. Jamie Campbell Bower provides a wonderful voice for him, and he really looks like. No, he really is a character that is really being treated quite badly by Sailor John, because he's like the assistant, and he's getting put down and told to shut up and bossed about quite a lot. And And in the end, Skiff really made a good decision not to follow Sailor John's orders. Sailor John, he was absolutely surprising. And he really looks like an ordinary character, when underneath, he's a real baddie. And John Hurt, he did a wonderful voice of Sailor John. And I think he actually pulled it off very well. Well done to you, John Hurt. You did a fantastic job voicing the villain. There were lots of great references to the story, like Duck was very surprised to see Donald and Douglas back. And then we got to see Jack and Alfie and Oliver at work again, and Max and Monty. The bad coal situation, that was amazing to watch. The chasing on the seaside line. What else did I like? Oh yeah, I also liked it when Thomas thought he could make a good friend in Skiff, but he couldn't with Rhyme. And I think part of the story goes, be careful who you make friends with, because you never know what they're like or what they get up to. I think it's true what they say. You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. Now, nitpicks. Now, I'm sorry if I'm sounding a bit unfair when I say this, but I think part of the way the Fat Controller spoke to and treated Thomas was a bit unfair, because he didn't really give Thomas a chance to explain, because Thomas was actually, in my point of view, or opinion, telling the truth, sort of, because Gordon was actually on the wrong platform, because everybody knows that the Express is supposed to be on platform 1. As we all know, the Express always starts from platform 1. Gordon didn't even get punished, but I think he should, because he wound up Thomas, he got Thomas upset, and I think that Thomas is partly the victim and Gordon is partly the bully, because I believe the bully is the person who causes the victim to make the reaction. That's what I believe. You can't always blame the victim, you blame the bully. And I think when Thomas was repaired, he only left with new shiny wheels, and he wasn't even repainted. He was just left dirty and scratched. I'd like to quote a line from Mr. Perkins when he was talking about the Steamworks. Quote, "Every engine leaves the Steamworks as good as new," unquote. So I can't understand why Thomas left looking so dirty, because that's unhygienic. Because in the book, as we saw, the Golden Bear book, which has been posted on the internet, Thomas leaves the Steamworks all clean and shiny. And what else can I say? Oh, I'll tell you something else as well. I am sure that I heard Rob Wilfort in the film as well, because Samson appeared in the film as a cameo, but I am sure that Samson said, "Here, what's he doing?" when Thomas sets off with the trucks of rails and sleepers. I'm sure that's Samson, because I remember what Samson sounds like, and I'm sure that Rob Wilfort should have been included in the voice cast at the end. Now, was there anything else I want to say? The part where Thomas fell down the cabin, that made me think of Thunderbird's episode, Terror in New York City, where Ned Cook and his cameraman fell into the pit. That's what made me think of that. The other thing I liked about the show was that Donald and Douglas got great parts in it. Oliver and Toad. Another nitpick. Stanley made about 4 or 5 cameos and he didn't even speak once, and I find that upsetting. Because even if Stanley was working on the line, surely he could have said something. And I managed to catch a glimpse of Rosie in the special as well. So I just want to say again,